Entertainment Tonight. That's right. Good boy.
Everyone thought it was just a dog bite. Just another day on a tightly run network procedural. But behind the calm, something deeper had cracked, and it never healed. NCIS sold itself as a family, led by a stoic figure both on screen and off. But when cameras stopped rolling, things got messy. Whispered warnings, separate shoot days, PR statements that dodged the real questions. For years, fans defended their favorites, unaware of the lines that had been drawn in silence. Then came the cryptic tweets, the abrupt exits, and one word that changed everything: terrified. What happened between Mark Harmon and Pauley Perrette didn't just affect two people. It shook the core of one of TV's most beloved shows. The dog bite that changed everything. In 2016, a seemingly isolated incident on the set of NCIS would ultimately fracture one of the show's most iconic partnerships. Mark Harmon, who played Special Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs, brought his dog to set, something he had reportedly done before without issue. But that year, the dog bit a crew member, causing significant injury that required 15 stitches. What began as a workplace safety issue soon evolved into a tense behind-the-scenes standoff that would reshape the show's dynamic for years. Despite the seriousness of the injury, Harmon continued to bring his dog to set. Sources close to the production claimed that many crew and cast members felt increasingly uncomfortable, but few were in a position to challenge Harmon directly. As both the star and an executive producer of NCIS, Harmon held considerable authority. This dual role blurred the lines between peer and boss, making it difficult for others, particularly those lower in the hierarchy, to voice concerns without fear of backlash. Pauley Perrette, however, reportedly confronted him directly, igniting what became a long-lasting conflict. The production crew, therefore, decided to schedule Harmon and Perrette for separate filming days, which is a rare occurrence in television production for two protagonists. Scripts had to be composed in such a way that their characters would be kept apart, even in those scenes where they were required to appear together. Clever editing masked the fact that they were never in the same place. Although this logistical workaround allowed the show to maintain appearances, it, however, underscored the extent of the rift and the discomfort it had caused behind the scenes. Years On also witnessed disturbing, accusatory public statements from Perrette after she left NCIS. Terrified, she said Harmon instigated nightmares with her thoughts of returning to the set. Her tweets suggested something deeper than that, adding multiple physical assaults to emotional trauma well after her exit from the show. Although she did not precisely define the nature of these assaults, her language painted an unsafe work environment where she felt she could not be. While leaving a dog was probably too small an issue, it sparked a much bigger tension that rocked the foundation of the once solid NCIS ensemble. As tensions spilled off set, what unfolded next left fans questioning who was really in control and who was being silenced. CBS's public response versus Pauley's cryptic claims. In the wake of Pauley Perrette's departure from NCIS, CBS released a carefully worded public statement asserting that the actress had approached the network with workplace concerns and that they had worked with her to find a resolution. The network emphasized its commitment to maintaining a safe working environment, seemingly implying that the issue had been handled internally and that Perrette's exit was not forced or the result of lingering tensions. But that version of events soon came under scrutiny as Perrette took to social media to share a series of cryptic and increasingly disturbing posts. Shortly after her final episodes aired, Perrette began tweeting about multiple physical assaults she allegedly endured while working on the show. Without naming names directly, her language suggested that someone powerful, possibly Mark Harmon, had created an unsafe environment. She described being trapped in silence by a machine that was spreading false stories about her. While she never outlined exactly what happened, the implications were clear. There was more to the story than CBS was willing to admit, and she felt gagged by a powerful publicity apparatus. What could be more alarming than the public statements about Perrette as she emphasizes her leaving NCIS due to fears for her safety, and not just from the role? She wrote that she was completely terrified and had left her with trauma that still haunts her with dreams. Whereas her statements mark a shift from the previous representations by CBS, which talked about a peaceful and amicable kind of departure, the tweets also insinuate that she is shielding some crew members whose jobs might also go down if she speaks the truth fully. This adds a different dimension to the already strained workplace relationship marked with internal power politics and unsaid truths. It has completely kept the debate among fans and observers of the industry going, with the chasm that set CBS's official reaction apart from the words of Perrette herself. Did CBS simply manage optics and bury a more profound issue? Or was it only that isolated incidents happened to be viewed by Perrette, as some have suggested, through lenses smudged by a developing personal victimization? Without a remnant of both sides' definitive accounts, this whole subject matter would remain clouded. What is clear, though, is that her steadfast refusal to return to NCIS, notwithstanding the multiple fan campaigns to get her back, really indicates a schism that perhaps not even time or diplomacy can heal. Mark Harmon speaks out. In 2024, years after Pauley Perrette's explosive departure from NCIS and her disturbing allegations about her time on set, Mark Harmon finally addressed their professional past, albeit indirectly. During an appearance on The Rich Eisen Show, Harmon offered praise for several of his former NCIS co-stars, including Perrette. He acknowledged her talent, saying she was specifically good in her role as Abby Sciuto. Given the context and timing, these comments were interpreted by some as an attempt to smooth over the narrative that had plagued his reputation since Perrette's exit. While Harmon never addressed the dog incident or Perrette's specific claims, his compliments raised eyebrows. To some, it looked like an overdue gesture of goodwill, perhaps a quiet acknowledgement of the tensions without reigniting the controversy. Others viewed it as calculated, particularly because the praise came as Harmon prepared to re-enter the franchise with the upcoming prequel series NCIS Origins. Was he attempting to reframe his image just as he returned to the spotlight? In a sense, the fan reaction was instantaneous. Reaction on Reddit and various social platforms was certainly divided. Some appreciated Harmon's restraint over the years and took his words at face value, seeing them as evidence that he bore no grudge toward Perrette. Others still remained unconvinced, pointing out that Harmon had spent most of the controversial time being quiet, while Perrette absorbed most of the flack herself. It was as if they were saying, from their perspective, the timing of the complimentary words felt more like strategic PR than true reconciliation. The real question is, regardless of whether Harmon really was down for reconciliation, can years of silence and suspicion be undone by a few kind words? Some fans may see the comment as good form, while others would consider it too little, too late. The real damage, personal, reputational, or both, had been done ages ago. And with Perrette still stubbornly refusing to return or elaborate further, Harmon's utterances become less a resolution and more a reminder of the unresolved clouds that still hang over the NCIS legacy. Zoe McLellan's exit. When Zoe McLellan exited NCIS New Orleans after just 2 seasons, the public explanation was chalked up to a creative decision. At face value, that sounded typical for a network series reshuffling its cast. But behind the scenes, the reality appeared to be far more contentious. Former showrunner Jeffrey Lieber later revealed that McLellan's departure was not the result of her performance or story direction, but of internal pressure from higher-ups who simply didn't like her. The reason, he said, wasn't rooted in any artistic concern, but in something more personal, even petty. Lieber, who had been brought in to guide the series, claimed he resisted letting McLellan go because she was doing great work and had strong public support. But studio executives reportedly insisted on her removal, and when Lieber pushed back, he was soon dismissed from his position. This sequence of events raised serious questions about whether subjective bias or executive politics played a larger role in casting decisions than previously understood. McLellan's firing seemed less about performance and more about power dynamics. The show was also said to be plagued by rumors of a certain kind of chauvinism among its leadership. The successor to Lieber was also fired eventually, reportedly due to his own harassment of female staff. While there were no official investigations made public, the frequent turnover of leadership, paired with a pattern of female talent exiting under vaguely stated or dubious circumstances, hinted at some serious structural problems within the NCIS. New Orleans production team. Once an almost title character in a slotted cast, McLellan became yet another name in a string of rapid and sudden exits in the show that leaves much to be desired by way of explanation. The case of Zoe McLellan illustrates how power plays behind the curtain can change the arc of a show so drastically. Her abrupt ousting was not regarded as a scandal at the time, but Lieber's later comments shone a light on a world where apparently innocent creative decisions can really harbor something rather toxic. Was it favoritism or retribution? Or was this more of a systemic issue? There is nothing to hold any parties directly accountable, so fans and industry observers are left to fill in the blanks. And boy, does that picture that emerges cast them in an extremely unfavorable view. Cote de Pablo's mysterious exit. Cote de Pablo's abrupt departure from NCIS in 2013 left fans stunned and confused. At the time, her public statement was carefully worded. She cited personal reasons and expressed her appreciation for the role of Ziva David, a fan-favorite character she had played for 8 seasons. Unlike some of her fellow castmates, de Pablo avoided controversy in her initial explanation, maintaining a sense of privacy that only deepened the mystery around her exit. The character was not slain off, which led to rampant speculation that a return could happen. But it was clear something behind the scenes had gone awry. Years later, de Pablo gave a rare and more candid interview in which she revealed that her departure was not exactly voluntary. "I didn't leave because I wanted to," she said. "I didn't have much of a choice." She went on to express deep frustration with the creative direction her character was taking, stating that she could not continue playing Ziva if the writing no longer respected what the character stood for. These comments added a new dimension to her exit, suggesting creative differences with the producers and perhaps a deeper misalignment in vision than fans had been led to believe. Yet those very revelations would in time also be called into question, if not outright contradicted. De Pablo suggested that her comments were misinterpreted, putting her foot down once again about her unwillingness to explain why she left the show. This back and forth engendered much ambiguity concerning her exit. The press and fans could only speculate. Was there some kind of internal conflict at the executive level? Was de Pablo being forced to take Ziva in a direction she inherently disagreed with? Or were the conflicting messages a way to protect the actors' relationships while hinting at creative dissatisfaction? As it is, the full story behind Cote de Pablo's exit remains unresolved. These statements, half-reversed narratives, and carefully chosen words have continued to keep the public in the dark. But the haunting regret of her exit still resonates with die-hard fans. The lack of closure, not only for character development, but also for the actress's relationship with the show, is a common theme in the NCIS storyline. A show formed not only by strong characters and compelling plots, but also centuries of behind-the-scenes tension. While one exit left a trail of unanswered questions, the next unfolded with a calm so unusual it made fans wonder what wasn't being said. Michael Weatherly's departure. After 13 seasons and over 300 episodes as Special Agent Tony DiNozzo, Michael Weatherly's decision to leave NCIS in 2016 came as a surprise to many fans. But unlike several other exits from the show, his departure unfolded with minimal controversy. Weatherly explained in public statements that his exit was simply about timing. He had been with the show since the beginning and felt the urge to explore new creative opportunities. It came down to a sense of timing and wanting to do something different, he stated, painting the move as a natural career progression rather than a reaction to internal friction. What set Weatherly's exit apart was how smoothly it played out, both on-screen and off. There were no behind-the-scenes rumors of tension, and he left on good terms with CBS. Almost immediately after wrapping up NCIS, he landed the lead role in Bull, another CBS drama inspired by the early career of Dr. Phil McGraw. This seamless transition suggested that Weatherly had the network's full support, and that his exit had been carefully coordinated rather than abrupt or conflict-driven. A stark contrast to the turmoil that surrounded the departures of stars like Perrette or Cote de Pablo. Still, some observers wondered what the real reason for the timing of his exit was. Had Weatherly truly felt ready for new creative challenges, or did he sense instability brewing within NCIS and choose to jump before the stir became fierce? It is not entirely beyond belief to consider that, considering NCIS's growing list of cast and executive shakeups around the time of Weatherly's departure, he may have exercised his right to peacefully walk away from all drama, just as any show can offer. Concerning NCIS departures, Weatherly has been something of an anomaly. His leaving was rather free of bitterness or ambiguity that would have swallowed others. Yet the very smoothness of his exit made some fans wonder whether something more was going on behind the scenes, or whether, for once, an actor on the show simply got lucky with the timing and left on his own terms. Either way, Weatherly's legacy as DiNozzo remains secure behind him, and his departure stands as one of the few not surrounded by a cloud of speculation. Behind the scenes with Pauley Perrette. For over a decade, Pauley Perrette was one of the most recognizable faces on NCIS, playing the eccentric forensic scientist Abby Scuto. Her quirky style, boundless energy, and gothic aesthetic made Abby a fan favorite, and Perrette herself rose to become one of the most beloved actresses on primetime television. But after 15 seasons, Perrette's relationship with the show came to an abrupt and contentious end, one that would not only mark her departure from NCIS, but also from acting entirely. Following her exit in 2018, Perrette starred in the CBS sitcom Broke, where she played a single mom in a more grounded comedic setting. While the show was short-lived and canceled after just one season, Perrette spoke positively about the experience, calling it life-changing. However, by mid-2020, she announced that she was retiring from acting altogether. In interviews since, she has said that she no longer wanted to play characters, preferring instead to focus on living a more authentic life as herself, away from the pressures and performative demands of the industry. She further disclosed that at times she had acted to escape the reality of some personal problems. With her stepping down from the public arena, she was going to pursue projects that were true, such as making documentaries. Her newest work is Studio One Forever, which narrates the legacy of an old LGBTQ+ nightclub. It is a serious and contemplative way for Perrette to begin a fresh chapter away from the scripted drama of the real world. Some aspect of NCIS still lingers on even after her bid to retire. Talk of her exit is still alive in a storm full of safety issues alleged on their respective sets, bringing back dark memories. Although she seems to have moved on from everything both in her personal life and career, her adamant stand, "I am not coming back, ever," is indicative of not completely healed wounds inflicted by time spent on the show. Even without her, Perrette's legacy as Abby continues to define part of the show's identity, and her exit remains one of its most discussed turning points. Ghosts of showrunners past. While NCIS has long projected an image of procedural stability on screen, its behind-the-scenes leadership has been anything but consistent. The show's original co-creator and longtime showrunner, Don Bellisario, was forced out in 2007 following reported tensions with star Mark Harmon. Bellisario's exit marked the beginning of a revolving door of showrunners that would span the next decade, with leadership turnover often tied to internal disagreements, shifting creative visions, or more troubling workplace concerns. Though the show maintained its ratings, the cost in terms of cast cohesion and morale may have been higher than it seemed. Several of Bellisario's successors faced their own share of controversy. Showrunner Gary Glassberg helped stabilize the show for a time, but his sudden death in 2016 left a void that CBS struggled to fill. Jeffrey Lieber, who took on the NCIS New Orleans spin-off, later revealed that he was ousted after resisting pressure to fire a cast member, Zoe McLellan, despite being satisfied with her performance. His dismissal was followed by further leadership changes, including another showrunner allegedly removed due to mistreatment of women on set, indicating that the problems may have run deeper than creative disputes. All of these changes at the head have had ripple effects on the cast and crew. Often distrustful and bound to weaken leadership, this kind of situation assumes importance in long-running shows where cast chemistry matters and the work is done behind the scenes. Frustrated actors, like De Pablo and Perrette, may have seen their ire aggravated by the lack of clear creative control. The larger trend conceivably indicates that power struggles and changing value systems among the executives set up an uncertain mood, which might have been an influence on a number of high-profile exits. For a franchise that believes in arranged conduct and loyally standing by its guts and teammates, these sudden discordant reverberations narrate quite a different story. For all television productions, leadership changes might be expected, yet one gets the impression that something else has been going on, especially when one thinks of an array of allegedly frivolous cast departures and internal complaints. The story of NCIS does not rest just on the success of its procedural Sundays, but on what has happened behind the veil, many of which continue to impact the storyline about the show. The instability behind the scenes didn't just affect the flagship series. Spin-offs like NCIS Los Angeles and NCIS New Orleans also experienced friction tied to shifting leadership. In some cases, showrunners were removed quietly, with little explanation. In others, allegations of toxic behavior or creative clashes leaked to the press. These patterns weren't isolated. They pointed to a larger cultural issue within the franchise's production machine. When leadership becomes a revolving door, vision blurs, morale drops, and trust within the cast and crew erodes, often in ways the audience never sees. This backstage churn also hindered efforts to build long-term arcs and character growth. Without stable leadership, storylines shifted direction midstream. Characters were written off abruptly, and actors were sometimes left uncertain about their futures. The irony is sharp. A series built on themes of loyalty and chain of command struggled to maintain that very structure behind the camera. As much as NCIS succeeded on screen, its off-screen turbulence left a shadow that even the strongest ratings couldn't completely mask. Actors who left without controversy. Amid the many turbulent exits from NCIS, a few cast members managed to bow out quietly, offering a stark contrast to the drama that surrounded other departures. One such actor was Emily Wickersham, who portrayed NSA analyst-turned-agent Ellie Bishop for 8 seasons. Her exit, announced after the season 18 finale, came without public scandal or behind-the-scenes speculation. In a sincere Instagram post, Wickersham thanked her colleagues and fans, calling her time on the show a moment in time I surely won't forget. Though her character was written off for an undisclosed covert mission, the lack of controversy suggests a mutually respectful parting. Another departure that unfolded gracefully was that of Lucas Black, who played Special Agent Christopher LaSalle on NCIS New Orleans. Black was a fan favorite, known for his Southern charm and grounded performance, appearing in over 140 episodes. When his character was slain off in Season 6, Black released a heartfelt video message expressing gratitude to the fans and explaining that he was stepping away to spend more time with his family. His reasons felt genuine and personal, rather than linked to creative disputes or workplace issues, and his message resonated with viewers who appreciated the transparency. Dwayne Henry was MI6 agent Clayton Reeves's last actor exit, also without any scandal. The character was slain off in Season 15 as part of his storyline, which emotionally connected with Pauley Perrette's farewell arc. Henry has something nice to say about the experience, particularly crediting the now-late showrunner Gary Glasberg for having brought that character to life. After Glasberg's untimely death, the direction for Reeves became less clear, but Henry's statements remained respectful. Rather than grumbling with bitterness, he honored the collaborative spirit behind his time on the show, demonstrating the kind of professionalism fans found refreshing. These more muted exits remind viewers that not all NCIS exits have been filled with friction. Despite all the noise made by cast members such as Wickersham, Black, and Henry, in contrast to some behind-the-scenes squabbling making the headlines, they all left on good terms. All 3 departed, leaving personal growth/narrative closure rather than drama behind, offering something quite different in a show that seemed at times to be swallowed up in internal conflict. Their legacies feel somehow unblemished in it, and perhaps more appreciated for it. Even Brian Dietzen, who plays Dr. Jimmy Palmer, serves as a reminder that longevity on NCIS didn't always mean drama. Having been with the show since 2004, Dietzen's continued presence offers a counterbalance to the revolving door of exits. Though not a departure himself, his steady tenure is notable, proving that for some, the set remained a place of stability. It also raises the question, what made certain actors thrive quietly, while others found themselves caught in behind-the-scenes turbulence? Personality, power dynamics, or simply timing? It's hard to say, but the contrast is striking. And then there's Rocky Carroll, who joined the cast in Season 5 as director Leon Vance and has remained a consistent presence through multiple leadership shakeups. His ability to remain above the fray has turned him into something of a backbone figure within the show, one who's rarely the focus of controversy. These steady hands may not grab headlines, but they've helped maintain a sense of continuity amid chaos. Their journeys prove that while drama defined many exits, NCIS still had room for those who just wanted to do the work and quietly move forward. Even as some walked away in peace, the next chapter raises the question, can NCIS grow without finally reckoning with the ghosts still hanging over its legacy? Harmon's future and NCIS origins. Mark Harmon's official departure from the on-screen role of Leroy Jethro Gibbs in Season 19 marked a major turning point for NCIS. After leading the series since its inception in 2003, Harmon quietly exited 4 episodes into the season, leaving many fans stunned. However, his departure wasn't total. He retained an executive producer title, signaling that while his character stepped away from the action, Harmon himself was still very much involved in shaping the show's future. His exit created space for new characters and narratives to emerge, yet it also left a noticeable void in the ensemble. Now, Harmon is poised to return, not as Gibbs in the present timeline, but as a creative force behind NCIS Origins, a prequel series focused on the young Gibbs's early years at Camp Pendleton. The show, currently in development, promises to revisit the foundations of the character while expanding the franchise into fresh territory. This new project has the potential to deepen Gibbs's mythology and offer longtime fans a nostalgic dive into the early 90s backdrop of his career. With Harmon narrating and producing, the show will likely be a litmus test for how the franchise can evolve while staying connected to its roots. However, the way forward is further complicated by yet unresolved tensions from the original series, foremost among them Perrette's public declaration that she would never come back. Even though fans speculate about possible dream reunions or cameos, Perrette has made her feelings clear. "I'm never going back." Her statement speaks to the fracture that remains in the show's legacy. Harmon being back could be seen as a stabilizing force, but also represents an obstacle to any sort of real reconciliation with the former cast members whose departures were marked by controversy and trauma. Now it remains to be seen whether NCIS can advance while still tied to this complicated past. With its growing universe of spin-offs, NCIS Hawaii, NCIS Sydney, and now Origins, the brand is showing no signs of slowing down. But can the franchise really continue thriving without addressing the lingering shadows from its earlier seasons? Or will those unresolved departures only feed into a lasting contradiction of the franchise? A show about loyalty constantly at odds with the fractures behind the scenes. Still, for all the nostalgia NCIS Origins promises, it also opens the door to renewed scrutiny. Revisiting the younger version of Gibbs may excite longtime fans, but it risks reintroducing unresolved dynamics, especially if the series tiptoes around the controversies that still echo through the franchise. If the goal is to honor the roots of Gibbs's legendary persona, the creative team will have to navigate the line between tribute and revisionism. Viewers who followed NCIS through its most turbulent seasons won't easily forget who's missing from the table and why. Even more pressing is whether new faces can anchor a legacy built on loyalty and trust when so many of its original bonds unraveled off-screen. The NCIS universe continues to expand, but its foundation was laid by characters whose departures still raise questions. As Harmon returns to shape the past, the future of the franchise may depend less on reinvention and more on whether it's finally ready to confront what it's been trying to outrun. Thanks for watching. If this deep dive gave you a new perspective, go ahead and like the video, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more untold stories from behind the scenes. Don't forget to click on the next video on your screen. It's one you won't want to miss.